Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad House of Dalmar, and we have a very special guest with us today. So Yishai Amstardamer. Yishai, welcome. I say shalom because really Yishai is really an Israeli, but you can tell from a little bit of an accent. In any case, I wanted to bring him on because everybody knows when you say October 7th now, you know what we're talking about, a terrible, terrible massacre. Really was the worst since the Holocaust of Jewish people. And, it's still going. It wasn't a one-time deal because then there's a war going on and people are getting killed or people are getting hurt. And so it's not just a one-time thing. And it's a year later, and Yishai went back to visit, so we wanted to talk to him about, I like a first-hand report, not just what the TV or the newspapers say of what's happening, but we want to hear, I don't want to say from the horse's mouth, it's not nice to say, but from a first-hand account is probably better to say that. And Yishai, well, tell us about your trip recently back to Israel.
So I went to Israel to visit my daughter. She's spending their first semester of 10th grade. She studied here at Bethlehem at the high school.
Just even then, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I've had a few people who said, "Oh, I don't want to go." Ooh, Israel. I mean, again, as everybody knows, there's missiles going on, and it's not the safest place in the world. Even though I shouldn't say that, because the Rebbe once said, when it was the Yom Kippur War, Israel's the safest place in the world. He said that, but but still, there's missiles going on, and people are scared. Oh, my kid, what are you going to do? I had actually a grandmother call me up because her grandson was learning in the yeshiva in Israel. Said, "Please, Rabbi, tell him not to go." I said, "Well, I can't tell him that. I mean, the parents want to go, he wants to go. I know you're scared, but, I try to console her. But I'm just saying, even then, what about sending your daughter to in a way, a dangerous situation, if that's what you want to say?"
So we also had that debate. Originally, I have to say, I was against the idea, just because I wanted her here. It wasn't a difficult decision in the end because she wanted to do it. So she wanted to do it because for her, she felt that she can't let terrorism scare us. This is the country of our people. This is our homeland. She grew up here. She was born there. And in her mind, she couldn't perceive the notation and the idea that someone else can actually kick us out of there. And by her not going and doing that thing, she felt like she is caving to terrorism, which was against everything that she believes in. So that was, when she said that, I couldn't even say no, because I knew that. So even though I'm a parent and I'm worried about her and how she's doing there, and when there was the missile attack from Iran going, we sat in the front of the TV, we were saying if we can reach her with WhatsApp, with everything, still we didn't feel right to say no, because we knew how important it is to her to actually feel that, because this is, after something that terrible happened, you need to hold on into something that will actually tell you that you're in control of things. It's not out of your control. You can still do things to change your future. You can change your destiny. It's within you. So for her, this is what was important for her to do.
It's interesting you say that. It's a very good idea, because a lot of times, people rein in their children. Well, it's too dangerous and I don't want you to do it. And sometimes you got to have children just, in a way, grow. I mean, she's in high school, but just grow up in a certain sense where she has ideals. Because young people have ideals. The older people just let it be, whatever it is. So what did you find about the people now? I always say this, of course they'll say, "Oh, I mean, it's terrible, terrible. Four soldiers were killed today." Yeah, but then on the other hand, there's people that are injured, and you see pictures of injured people without arms. How's a 20-year-old with an arm? I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
thinks they're alive, but that's terrible, terrible tragedy. And then on top of that, I mean, I just know people, and then, you hear reports there every minute or, every day. Well, is there going to be, oh, there's an alarm out. I got to run to the basement. Who lives like that? I mean, some people are strong and, and they live through it, like you say, and raise above it. But there's got to be people that are just psychologically messed up because, they're scared all the time and, and friends are getting killed and things, and, neighbors, and I know that Israel's all one, even though, I mean, there's
Yeah.
millions of people. How do you know millions of people? But on the other hand, when someone's killed, it's a national tragedy.
Yeah. So part of our moving here to the U.S. from Israel was that my aunt, she did suffer from PTSD, and it never goes. She still has it. So part of the concern was how she's going to react when she.
But this was before October 7th.
It was way before. It was from the previous things that happened. So I grew up with, when it was even before that, with Dead Storm 1, Dead Storm 2, all that stuff. I remember my father coming back from reserve duty in Lebanon War in 1980 something, right? 2, 3,
Yeah.
4, when the first one was. So we grew up through that. I lived through that. I remember holidays like Shavuot when everybody were stayed home because there was a small boat with terrorists landing on our beach near where I lived. So
Mhm.
everybody staying. So it's not a new concept. It's just that the magnitude of 7 October was something else. It's just that now it was also evidence because it was stream live. That technology wasn't at that time available. So it's the magnitude of it. It's something new. Other than that, the hate, those action, those trying to do those awful things, it was always there. So I remember it from being a young kid. Like I remember that Shavuot where my mother, she worked at the hospital, so they came to pick her just because they needed. She was in the blood lab, so they need someone to be ready if there would be something. So we grew up with that, and still I believe that all of us suffer from some kind of a PTSD. I can see it on my nephews when I go to visit them. I can see that. I mean, for us, even when we hear the fire department alarm, it's exactly like the air raid. We get immediately agitated about it, and we're looking. Like I can tell you, the first recollection I have coming here to Bethlehem was that we went to a fall picnic at the school, and my kids were like just came to me to elementary school.
Yeah.
And it was a picnic fall. First time I'm going, and all the families are sitting, having pizza, enjoying the time, and suddenly there is the fire department alarm. So my instinct was that to run for a shelter. So I pick up my young one. She was only 4 at the time. So I pick her up, and I'm starting to run. And I see my wife, and everybody looks at me, and then I said, "What's going on? Where's the shelter? Why are you sitting? Why are you not going to the shelter?"
Yeah.
And then she said, "Relax. We are in Denmark. Nothing is going to happen. It's not the same thing." So for us, we live through that, and we are almost react as an instinct to those things. So I was really worried about that, but somehow she's managing with that. And when I went there, at my parents' house, we need to wake up early in the morning because there was a siren, and we need to stay in and all that stuff. But you can see on people are on edge, but they live their life. You see, all the restaurants are full. Everything got back to reality. And my parents, they live in Ashkelon, which was heavily targeted at the beginning of the event in 7th of October. Like it started with a barrage of missiles to Ashkelon, and it continued. Like for my parents need to relocate from there to evacuate to my brother, who live more in the center of the country, just because they couldn't even do it anymore. So but now you go there and you see, yes, it's a country with a trauma state, but people are living their life. If you go out to Tel Aviv, all the restaurants are full, people are living their life. So it was very encouraging to see that despite of everything that is happening, yes, we have the South and the North, which are terrible in terrible situation. The South is, based on my impression, is regaining, going back to itself. Like I went to see the Nova.
You went there actually
Yes.
just to see it.
I wanted to see it because I'm not far from there, like 40 minutes drive.
Oh, there's nothing, yeah.
Yeah, so we drove there. Me and my mother, and we went there, and you see all the fields. You see that everything is starting to be rehabilitated. You see the fields. You see that the farmers are starting to work. You see that they restore the irrigation system. They restored a lot of things, but yes, you see the evidence of what happened on that day when you go to the south near the area. You see that every small. So it's I didn't saw that because when I was living in Israel, it wasn't there yet. But near every bus stop or near every place, there is like a small cube that it's like a shelter. It's like temporary, like shelter that they just put here. And actually, one of them was called the dead shelter because the terrorists, they got here and they just threw grenades inside and then they got in and they shot everybody.
How
who were
big
there.
is this?
It's not big. It's like if you look at it, it's maybe like a small sukkah, I would say.
Yeah.
Very small, like 20 feet maybe over 10 feet.
And
Something
it's
like that.
cemented? I mean,
It's cemented. It's
yeah.
like a cement. It's like a cement block
Yeah,
that people can go in
for shelter.
for shelter, and that's it. So you have them all spread, and all of them you have now candles, and you have the stickers of all the people who was murdered on that day, and it's crazy. You go to the Nova and you see that it's you see all the young faces, pictures, and it's terrible, and it's terrible. But and when we were there, you can hear the guns, and you can actually smell the gunpowder. So it's really that close to the border.
Well, I mean, from where? The gunpowder of who?
From the IDF. When
Still
there's-
shooting now?
Yeah, they're still in the even in the south. There are still.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there is. I could hear from my parents' house who live in Ashkelon. There's some nights that you can hear loud noises, and then you hear the aircraft going, and you can hear. Yeah,
So, but you really live in it. It's not far away.
it's not far
Oh,
away. No.
It's right on their doorstep. So a little bit when you're talking about with thinking, you say about the Holocaust also, the Holocaust survivors came to Israel instead of I mean, again, you're not going to take, like you're saying, that out of yourself ever, you know, in your mind and your heart, but you got to build, you know,
Yes.
you got to do something. You can't just sit there moaning and groaning. It's not going to help anyway. You might as well do something and build it up. It's incredible. That's why I bring you out there. You know, you don't hear these stories on the news.
Yeah.
But you know they're important, and I always know that there's, you know, when you deal with people, it's not just two people are dead, okay, you know, two are not okay, but that's it. But wait a minute, how many people, how many relatives are affected by that? Everybody has a family, you know, and now a young person has passed away, etc.
Yeah.
Some people have children, and now they have to live as an orphan the rest of their lives. You know, and on and on. There's so many terrible ramifications for all these things. But I didn't even know these things that people are living. It's so close. It's such a small area, Israel.
very
That's
small.
the trouble
Yeah.
over here. That everything's on your doorstep.
Yeah, and you go to the Nova, you see really it's terrible. You see kids who just wanted to go and enjoy a festival, and now you see their family members, like they did a small area for them that people come and sit with them and comfort them when they are there, and you know they read Tehillim or they do some stuff together. So it's nice. It's a place that people are coming, and there is. So in the south of Israel,
Just I have to.
Yeah.
Just to Saint Tehillim is Psalms. You know, a
Oh,
lot of
Psalms,
people
yeah.
don't understand. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You have to translate your Hebrew for.
yeah, and so every year there was an event that was called a festival that it was like a free translation of that will be Red South. And the idea was that the flowers, there are special flowers that grow there, and there are fields of it, and it's like almost paint everything in red, and it's so
Really?
beautiful. It's really beautiful, and the time
It's
is
a
like
garden, like
it's almost, it's not like a garden. It's in the nature, so it's really beautiful.
beautiful nature. Yeah.
Yes, most of the time it's look like almost like half a desert, but during that time of the year it's almost like painted red, and it was so nice to see that some artists, many artists came, and what they did, they donated, and they created those flowers to put between the memorial places of all the people who were brutally murdered at that day. So, and it was nice. It was a small gesture, but combining everything together. So it was, I would say it was nice. It was nice to visit, nice to see, and but more nice to see beside of that was to see that, yeah, you go to the airport, only a lot almost flies, right? So
Yeah,
the airport is almost empty.
Really.
Almost empty
I mean,
compared
but-
to what I remember.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was going to. One of the questions is the tourist trade must be hit hard. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
no
a lot-
tourists will come. I mean, Israelis, we grew up there, so I mean, we went through several wars. So we're in essence used to that kind of being living in that crazy world. But for us, it's a normal state. But no, I haven't seen tourists. Most of the tourists are either JNF missions or other kind of missions that are coming and supporting.
Well, that hurts the economy too. I mean, so many
Yeah.
people's lives are dependent on it. Again, all these is bringing out a full picture of the tragedy.
Yes.
I mean, it's not the biggest tragedy. Better to be without a little business than to be hurt in the army. But on the other hand, you got to think of everybody. You know, listen,
Yes.
people trying to make a living. And one of the persons that came here and said, Safat, which is a artistic colony. I once heard it was interesting. Oh, it's on a hill. No terrorists come there, and now they say it's like a ghost town, because the Northern Command is near there, and there's missiles.
Yes, very
going over.
close. It's very near. So the Northern Command and Sfat are very nearby. So they're always trying to shell that, but they're also eating Sfat
They miss, you mean.
and yes, and so there are a few bases in the area. So they're trying also Mount Meron and other places. So a lot of fires happening there. A lot of nature was destroyed in the north of Israel, like a lot.
Because of the
The
bombs
fire,
make
yeah.
fires.
Yes, a lot of fires. I mean, I haven't been to the north because it's not safe to go there, but it's terrible what's going on there. It's really terrible. And that was done without any provocation. There was nothing there.
Yeah, it's a shame. Well, I mean, that's anti-Semitism constantly. I mean, again, Jewish history, the Jewish people, I mean, in Israel, they only want peace. They're always being productive and helping other nations. I always say that, you know, when there's an earthquake somewhere, I mean, there's big nations, England, France, America, Germany, you know, these are major nations. And who's helping them out is Israel.
Yeah.
This little nothing country. I mean, nothing but in size and compared to Germany and you know, these
Yeah.
Western nations. Israel's there to help. You know, so they only want to help. They only want peace. And really, that's the story of Jewish history altogether for the last few thousand years. What did Jewish people do to anybody? What are you throwing them into gas chambers? What did they do to anybody?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a tragedy, and that's why I guess the Rebbe was hoping for the Mashiach Messiah to make peace in the world, because that's what you need is, I think, a big miracle like the
Yeah.
Messiah to make peace. It's so far off. I mean, people just hate, and it's terrible the way that is. But people have a hope, though, saying something positive. You know, I mean, that, like you say, they're building, and they...
Yeah, I mean, it's you go out, you see. I mean, I landed on Friday afternoon, and just before Shabbat, and I went to visit my daughter who spent the weekend in Tel Aviv, and you go, it was on the Yarkon River, and many people are outside, many people are there, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see. It's nice to see that there is also a normality in all of it. There is a normality. Yes, there is a terrible events. There is things that we cannot perceive even, but on the other hand, the strive for life and normality is there. And you see, I mean, you go in the evenings, places are full, people want to go
And your
back into
daughter
their life.
does it after, again, she was idealistic from here in America, but once you're there, sometimes you change your tune over here, but she doesn't.
There it's different. You submerge yourself into the environment and you don't think about it. It's become like when I was living in Israel, I never said, oh, it's dangerous here. For me, it's actually the safest place in the world. And I always laugh that when we came here, it was the first time that we actually felt not secured. Because the first incident that happened to us is that my wife, she went to Walmart and she calls me and said, someone is following me in the car. I said, what do you mean someone is following you? She said, he's driving from Walmart and I'm almost home and he's behind me. And so she actually drove to the police station, to the Bethlehem police station,
Good.
and she saw two female officers there. She told them that the guy behind her, and they found actually a knife and he was intoxicated on him. And we said, oh my God, it will never happen to me in Israel. And I never felt not secure in Israel, never. Even going to the army, I never felt not secured.
Well, maybe that's what the Rebbe was saying. Now you explained it. The Rebbe said it's the safest place in the world
Yeah,
over here.
you don't feel it because it's in your hand. I mean, of course, there are terror attacks, there's 7 October, but you don't feel secure. I mean, 7 October was in a sense the first time, not the first time because 6-day war and all that stuff that happened. I mean, there were terrible times, but it's in the recent history, I would say, that we remember that you felt that it was that big, that it was cracked.
Yeah, it's interesting. That's what I'm saying. It's good to get it. That's what I brought you on, Yishai. I'm glad that you came on because you give an inside view of what it is. You don't get a full idea from a newspaper account. They just give you 30 seconds. There was a terrorist attack, 2 people are killed. All right, now let's get to the ball game, let's see what the Yankees did. I mean, so you're not getting a full picture, and this way I wanted to bring you out to explain exactly what's happening over there. People live on. That's the beauty in a way of the Jewish people. They don't, they are oppressed, but, you got to live on. That's the main thing, and go on and make something of yourself. A lot of people don't understand that. It's like in a way, miraculous, where, how did Jewish people come out of the Holocaust? And they're so beaten up, and you have, even in Israel, they say there's 7 fronts. It's a small little country, and everybody's bombing on you. How do you live like that? What country lives that way? That everybody's bombing on them from inside, from outside, and next, like you say, practically next door, that they hate you and they're bombing you, and you're thriving. And Israel's one of the top countries. Again, there's so many great Western countries, but it's militarily and innovatively, it rises to the top.
I would say that's why we called Israelis, we call them tzabar. Tzabar, it's like sabres, it's almost like a cactus.
Yeah.
That because we are resilient. We are resilient. We don't need a lot to strive, but we're resilient. And I think that this is what the world is saying now, is the resilience of Israel. And this is what, when they were talking about Israel, that it's basically a spider web, and now they say it's not a spider web, it's a steel web.
I never heard that. It's a good one. All right.
So it's resilience. It's because we as Israelis, and we don't have elsewhere to go. It's your last front. There is no place to go.
Yeah, one Israeli soldier once told me that. He says, they say the army is good, and, obviously they won so many wars. On the other hand, he says, well, it's, again, people know that, it's just the attitude. We had American Vietnam. Why should I put my life on for these Vietnamese, so they're not going to put their heart and soul into it, and that's maybe one of the reasons we lost. But on the other hand, in Israel, he says, if I lose, my mother's 10 miles behind me.
Exactly.
So I'm not, you're going to give everything you have.
You can't lose.
Yeah, there's no other option.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There is no, behind us it's only the sea. And when they say from the river to the sea, and people don't believe it, this is what they mean, because behind us it's only the sea. There is no escape. If you look at it on the map, it's basically, it's a small, narrow,
Little
tiny strip
of land
near to the sea.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of protests on, like you said, the land of the sea and the colleges, but again, they're idealistic, the poor Palestinians. On the other hand, I mean, if they see what you see or know what we're talking about, what Israel is and what it's against and where they came from, I think they'd change their tune and have a different attitude.
I think that this is a big story, because I think that you have, what I would say, they are the one who founded, that they are founded by someone, usually by Qatar and by Iran, and they're going to incite everything, and those are, let's say, the hard one. They are getting paid for it, and they won't be changed. And there are the stand-buyers that buy to this rhetoric, because everybody feel bad for the one who portrayed himself as the poor.
Yeah.
And they're finding that they can conjoin with them and create something to better the world. And actually, they don't understand that it's the opposite. They don't ask themselves, but why it started. I hear people saying, "Oh, 7 October as a context." Yes, but the context of 7 October is that also that 6 October there was a ceasefire. Gaza was free to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
Israel returned the entire land, but they decided.
And they were helping also, sending in trucks, put that
Yes,
in there also.
Electricity
Yeah.
comes from Israel. Water supply comes from Israel. Everything comes from Israel. Okay? And people are forgetting that despite of all that stuff, what they decided to do is not to build a better economy, not to improve their life in any way or another way. They decided to build tunnels and to build a terror state. This is what they decided to do. So the context is that, yes, they are, and those people who are basically coming from ideology that, yes, there shouldn't be oppression in the world. We all want peace. I want peace as well. Like you said, Jews, we are praying three times a day that we want the peace. This is what we say. We want peace. We never want war. Okay, so, and those, they don't understand, and they're ignorant. And you cannot, you need to teach them, but they're already indoctrinated by those guys. So I think that it's a terrible situation that happens to some societies, that those kids are being, to some extent, being drawn to something that if they will sit and think about it, and they will realize all of it, then they will look at it differently. Now, after everybody was saying, oh, they're ignorant, they don't know what they're singing, from the river to the sea, so they learn and went that the river is Jordan and the sea is the Mediterranean, now at least they know that. But when they started and people asked them, what do you mean by that? And do you understand that you call to basically to another Holocaust? They didn't even realize that. So there is the hardcore in the universities, and then the one who is just the followers, and we need to fix the follower. The hardcore we cannot fix.
Yeah, no, it's a good way of putting over it. People just, it's an in thing, to be part of
Exactly.
a protest, and they're looking for deeper things. Well, Yishai, we're out of time, but it's been, it was excellent, Dad, and I'm very glad that I did bring you, and I thought that was an important, because, again, you see on the news, and it's skewed also, let alone the people on the college campuses, the media is also skewed, these Palestinians, and but what about the Israelis? And chutzpah, the Israelis are fighting back. Well, you just killed 1,200. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Just sit there and take it? I mean, they don't put it in any normal perspective. And I wanted, to people at least see the other side of the coin, that what it means to be oppressed and live like that. And you're talking about adults, but children, I mean, every person is oppressed, but even children have to grow up this way in a bomb shelter. I mean, it's like unheard of in America. People they just don't even relate to it. That's what I say. I don't think they even know what it means. Surely in America they don't know what it means. But in any case, that we should know, the main thing is, like we were saying in the show, is that there should be peace in Israel and no more enemies, and there's no reason to hate anybody, and surely the Jewish people in Israel. So thank you very much, Yishai, for being on the Jewish View.
Thank you.